If you're inclined, you can stand facing east is this way. I'm gonna stay seated so I can project my voice to the microphone. All right. Barakatah Yahweh, Malaka Walam. Is blessed are you, Yah, King, everlasting, King of this universe. We come to you now, Abba Yah, with praises to worship you, Abba Yah, on this set apart day, to be fed at your table, and to give you all the praise, honor, and esteem that you so deserve, Abba Yah, that we can only express with these words that come out of our mouth instead of you search our leb, you search our hearts, Abba Yah. And we thank you. We thank you, Abba Yah, for the hedge of protection and the traveling blessings that you gave all of us, Abba Yah, and all of those that are traveling to come together in a holy mikra, set apart gathering, Abba Yah, in your name on your set apart day as you commanded. We thank you, Abba Yah, for delivering us safely. We ask that you keep your hedge of protection around us as we gather together. And we ask, Abba Yah, that you bless all gatherings with your Ruach HaKodesh. Let us all receive your message today, Abba Yah, that applies to us. We just want to serve you, Abba Yah, with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our might. And we thank you, Abba Yah. We thank you for the testimonies. We thank you for the praise reports that just confirm, Abba Yah, and strengthens our faith that your word will never return to you void. If we conform to your law, statutes, and commandments with our whole heart, Abba Yah, that your word will always accomplish what you set it out for. And as we go into the lessons today, Abba Yah, I just ask that you bless those that will be edifying your word with your Ruach HaKodesh to allow your message, use us as vessels, Abba Yah, to deliver your message clear. And that we all that hear your word rejoice, Abba Yah, and receive with gladness. Please continue to touch those that are afflicted, Abba Yah, those that are vexed in the Ruach, those that are anguished from separation, Abba Yah, from family and friends. Give us all shalom, Abba Yah. Continue to heal our bodies and our minds. And in all things, Abba Yah, Tob and Ra, we give you thanks. Todah Reba, Abba. Blessed are you, Yahweh. Blessed is your name, Yahweh. And blessed is he that comes in your name, Yahweh. Halal Yah. Halal Yah. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Ms. Bakar, we're going to get started here. And I just got to tell you right off the bat that I've been battling in my mind about this message today for a while. I debated with myself whether I should attempt to bring this message out or not, for several reasons, but mainly that I was afraid that this message I might not represent this message completely and thoroughly. That was my main fear. But then a few Shabbats ago, Moreh Samak gave a lesson about how Moshe was giving excuses to the Most High why he felt like he wasn't the man to deliver the Most High's people out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt. And that resonated with me, you know, and it made me realize that, Yaiqab, you're just coming up with excuses. You know, you're just coming up with excuses. If the Most High is giving me a message to deliver, which I believe, then who am I to stop it, and why should I be afraid? So today I'm going to try and deliver this message that's been in my lab for quite a while. Bear with me. And I'll just tell you from the get-go, this is going to be a lot of reading today, not a lot of scriptural breakdown. We're going to save that for a follow-on lesson. But right now, I just want to get this message out. And then, most high willing, next Shabbat, we'll get into discussing it. All right. And you know, we've been talking about culture. We've been talking about salvation. We've been talking about heaven and the kingdom of heaven and what righteousness, the type of righteousness that the Most High is looking for. So I'm kind of building off of that with this lesson. All right, and before we dig in, I want to prepare you. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of reading this Shabbat, both in the Torah and the Brit Hadashah in the Old Testament, commonly called the Old Testament, and Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, and specifically in the Old Testament, we're talking about Torah. Like I said, no scriptural breakdowns this Shabbat, but just suffer through the reading. And I say suffer through purposely. I say suffer through the reading purposely. We have 4 chapters we're going to go through, and then portions of 3 more chapters. So a lot of reading today. Like I said, no breakdowns. We're just going to get right into it. And hopefully by the end, you'll understand what I mean by suffer through it. So let's begin in the Torah. We're going to go to Yaiqab or Leviticus. And we're going to start at chapter 4. And we're going to read the whole chapter all the way to chapter 7. All right. I'm going to go kind of quickly. And like I said, just kind of suffer through it. And that suffering is purposeful. The reason why I'm saying it that way. All right. Yaiqab, Leviticus chapter 4 from the top, and it reads, "And Yah spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of Yah concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them, if the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people, then let him bring for his sin which he hath sinned a young bullock without blemish unto Yah for a sin offering. And he shall bring the bullock unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before Yah, and shall lay his hand upon the bullock's head, and kill the bullock before Yah. And the priest that is anointed shall take of the bullock's head, the bullock's blood, and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall dip his finger in the blood, and sprinkle of the blood 7 times before Yah, before the veil of the sanctuary. And the priest shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar of sweet savor, of sweet incense before Yah, which is in the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall pour all the blood of the bullock at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall take off from it all the fat of the bullock for the sin offering, the fat that covereth the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the cow above the liver, with the kidneys, it shall he take away, as it was taken off from the bullock of the sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar of the burnt offering. And the skin of the bullock and all his flesh, with his head and with his legs and his inwards and his dung, even the whole bullock shall he carry forth without the camp unto the clean place, where the ashes are poured out, and burn him on the wood with fire. Where the ashes are poured out, shall he be burnt. And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of Yah concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty, when the sin which they have sinned against it is known, then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin, and bring him before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullock before Yah, and the bullock shall be killed before Yah. And the priest that is anointed shall bring of the bullock's blood to the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall dip his finger in some of the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before Yah, even before the veil. And he shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar, which is before Yah, that is in the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall pour out all the blood at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall take all his fat from him and burn it upon the altar. And he shall do with the bullock as he did with the bullock for a sin offering. So shall he do with this. And the priest shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them. And he shall carry forth the bullock without the camp, and burn him as he burned the first bullock. It is a sin offering for the congregation. When their ruler have sinned and done somewhat through ignorance against any of the commandments of Yah, his Elohim, concerning things which should not be done, and is guilty, or if his sin wherein he hath sinned come to his knowledge, he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a male without blemish, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of the goat and kill it in the place where they kill the burnt offering before Yah. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out his blood at the bottom of the altar of burnt offering. And he shall burn all his fat upon the altar, as the fat of the sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall make an atonement for him as concerning his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. 27. And if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he doeth somewhat against any of the commandments of Yah, concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty. Or if his sin, which he hath sinned, come to his knowledge, then he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for his sin which he hath sinned. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and slay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offerings. And the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offerings, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat is taken away from off the sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor unto Yah. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. And if he bring a lamb for a sin offering, he shall bring it female without blemish. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering and slay it for a sin offering in the place where they kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat thereof as the fat of the lamb, Slikah. And he shall take away all the fat thereof as the fat of the lamb is taken away from the sacrifice of the peace offerings. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar, according to the offerings made by fire unto Yah. And the priest shall make an atonement for his sin that he hath committed, and it shall be forgiven him. Chapter 5, we're going to keep right on rolling. Let me get a sip of water real quick. All right, we're moving on to chapter 5. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing, and is a witness, whether he have seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. Or if a soul touch any unclean thing, whether it be a carcass of an unclean beast, or a carcass of an carcass of an unclean cattle, or the carcass of unclean creeping things, and if it be hidden from him, he also shall be unclean and guilty. Or if he touch the uncleanness of man, whatsoever uncleanness it be, that a man shall be defiled withal, and it be hid from him, when he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty. Or if a soul swear, pronouncing with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatsoever it be that a man shall pronounce with an oath, and it be hid from him, when he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty in one of these. And it shall be, when he shall be guilty in one of these things, that he shall confess that he hath sinned in that thing. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto Yah for his sin which he hath sinned, a female from the flock, a lamb or a kid of the goats for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his sin. And if he be not able to bring a lamb, then he shall bring for his trespass, which he hath committed, 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons unto Yah, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. And he shall bring them unto the priest, who shall offer that which is for the sin offering first, and wring off his head from his neck, but shall not divide it asunder. And he shall sprinkle of the blood of the sin offering upon the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be wrung out at the bottom of the altar. It is a sin offering. And he shall offer the second for a burnt offering, according to the manner, and the priest shall make an atonement for him for his sin which he hath sinned, and it shall be forgiven him. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he that sinned shall bring for his offering the 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense therein, for it is a sin offering. Then shall he bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it, even a memorial thereof, and burn it upon the altar, according to the offerings made by fire unto Yah. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him as touching of these, and it shall be forgiven him. And the remnant shall be the priests, and the remnant shall be the priests as a meat offering. And Yah spake unto Moshe, saying, if a soul commit a trespass and sin through ignorance in the holy things, the set apart things of Yah, then he shall bring for his trespass unto Yah a ram without blemish out of the flocks, with thy estimation by shekels of silver, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for a trespass offering. And he shall make amends for the harm that he hath done in the set apart things, and shall add the 5th part thereunto, and give it unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass, offering, and it shall be forgiven him. And if a soul sin and commit any of these things which are forbidden to be done by the commandments of Yah, though he wist it not, yet is he guilty. and shall bear his iniquity. And he shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flock, with the estimation for a trespass offering unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his ignorance, wherein he erred and wist it not, and it shall be forgiven him. It is a trespass offering. He hath certainly trespassed against Yah. I'm going to skip chapter 6. I was going to go through chapter 6, but I think you're getting it right. And it'll make sense when we get into the Brit Hadashah. All right, let's just go to chapter 7. And I'm going to read from the top. Yaiqab, or Leviticus chapter 7, says, likewise, this is the law of trespass offering. It is most Quadash. It is most set apart. It is most holy. In the place where they kill the burnt offering, shall they kill the trespass offering, and the blood thereof shall be sprinkled round about upon the altar, and he shall offer it all the fat thereof. He shall offer of it all the fat thereof, the rump, and the fat that covereth the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is by the flanks, and the cow that is above the liver, with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar for an offering made by fire unto Yah. It is a trespass offering. Every male among the priests shall eat thereof. Every male among the priests shall eat thereof. It shall be eaten in the set apart place. It is most holy. It is most set apart. As the sin offering is, so is the trespass offering. There is one law for them. The priest that maketh atonement therewith shall have it. And the priest that offereth any man's burnt offering, even the priest shall have to himself the skin of the burnt offering which he hath offered, and all the meat offering that is baked in the oven, and all that is dressed in the frying pan, and in the pan shall be the priests that offer it. And every meat offering mingled with oil and dry shall all the sons of Aaron, have, one as much as the other. Hallelujah. All right. The law. We use this term, the law, loosely. And when we use it this way, we kind of take the heaviness out of Torah. Torah is laws. Torah is statutes. Torah is commandments. Torah also has judgments and testimonies. And just for the ease of understanding, we, meaning men, we have broken Torah down into categories. Sometimes you'll hear ceremonial law. Sometimes you'll hear dietary law. Sometimes you'll hear civil law. And then sometimes you hear sacrificial law. These are all laws that are in Torah. But when we use that term, the law, loosely, we kind of take the heaviness out of it, that there's laws, statutes, and commandments, and judgments and testimonies in Torah. This way of thinking is not our culture. This ceremonial law, this sacrificial law, this dietary law, right? This law of sin, this sacrificial law, that's not our culture. the way of thinking about it like that is not our culture. This is a Greco-Roman kind of mindset to break Torah down like that. All right. That's how the Constitution of the United States is broken down. You have tax laws, you have business laws, you have family laws, you have criminal laws, etc. That's a Greco-Roman way of thinking. It's not our culture. And it'll make sense here in a minute. Most High willing. All right. So just read Leviticus, Yaiqab, and specifically we were talking about the law of sin, the law, trespass law. And then, like I said, in the way that breakdown is, we call that sacrificial, the sacrificial laws. All right. And so Torah Rabbah for suffering it through it with me. But I did that on a purpose. There's so much in Torah and the way you had to make atonement for a trespass and for a sin that is laborious. And not only is it laborious, but it has to be precise. It has to be precise for the atonement. All right. And so when we get to the Brit Hadashah, this, I hope, will start to make sense. Why we had to read through all of that. And I skipped chapter 6, remember? I was going to read all the way through chapter 6 too. All of these two laws that we just read about have to be precise for there to be atonement. These two laws were in addition to the other laws. And what I mean by that is there's other sacrifices like the peace offering, the burnt offering, things of that nature, right? But these sin offerings are in addition to those. And not only are they in addition to those, they are in addition to the weekly Shabbat offerings. And not only are they in addition to the weekly Shabbat, they're in addition to the Moedim sacrifices. They are in addition to all of these other sacrifices that are in sacrificial laws, all right? The point I'm trying to make here is that it's laborious. It has to be precise. And it's a lot. And so when we get to the Brit Hadashah, you're going to see what Mashiach was talking about and what Paul was talking about. All right. Now, all of this will make sense, like I said, when we get to the Brit Hadashah, right? The New Testament. So let's just go there. Let's go to Matthew, commonly called Matthew in English. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 5, and everybody knows this. So we're going to Matthew chapter 5, commonly called Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 17 through 20. And this is where cultural differences clash. This is where cultural differences clash. And that's why we're told over and over again, especially by Hamashiach, those that have ears to hear, those that have ears to hear, those that have returned are returning to their natural culture. What we're about to read in the English and the doctrines based on this Greco-Roman culture is a culture clash with Yisrael. It clashes with the culture of Yisrael, all right? So let's read. Matthew chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 17, and y'all could probably say it by heart by now. It says, think not that I am come to destroy the law. Now, remember what I said, the law, how we use that term law. This is in English, all right? Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets, the Nabiim. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. This is in English. Remember, this is in English. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Here's the catch. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, we didn't see law right there, right? Break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of Shamayim, the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach, them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. This is Hamashiach's words, right? Who is he talking to? Anybody? Who is he talking to right here in chapter 5? Anybody?
Israel.
I heard it. That's right. Toda Rabbah. He's talking to the disciples, right? And there's several words in Hebrew for disciples that the English translates to disciples, right? Talmud or Talmudim. You hear it a lot in Talmudim, right? But the root is Talmud, right? And it's a mentee, someone who's being mentored. It's one who is under instruction, all right? And then we have chassid or chassid, and that's a follower. That is a follower, one who professes the teachings that he's following, or the teacher that he's following, and is joined to that quote unquote party. Christians, according to scripture, Christians. All right. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to go into the big breakdowns today, and then the last one I want to look at, and there's a couple more, but Lamud. All right. Lamud. And we know we've seen that letter Lamed. It's on the same line, Lamud, right? And that's a tutor, a teacher, a mentor. All right. And then he says, he didn't come to destroy the law or the prophets. He came to fulfill, right? And what is the law and the prophets, right? Well, what is he fulfilling that the prophets and the law said he would do? Hamashiach, right? Said it would be the better thing to come, better things to come, to usher in grace. And we'll go into that, most high willing, next Shabbat. I just want to get this introduced. To show us righteousness. We've already been through that. You know, what could be the righteousness that we're supposed to display as opposed to the righteousness of the Pharisees and the scribes. We've already been into that. To fulfill the law. What law? What law? And to exemplify charity. In Hebrew, that would be ahab. In the Greek, agape. All right. And in English, we say love, but it's a lot deeper than just there's a lot more attached to that than just saying love, all right? I'm not going to go into the breakdowns yet. All right, so we can plainly see and understand that Hamashiach did not come to destroy Torah. And in English, they said the law. But we can plainly see that Hamashiach did not come to destroy Torah. There are things written in Torah and the Nabaim, the prophets, that he had to accomplish while he was among us, that the prophets told us to look for. All right, so now let's go to Romaim or Romans, and then I'll get to the close. We're going to go to Romans chapter 6. Romaim or Romans chapter 6. And while you're getting there, let me give you a little bit of background. All right, a little background about the epistle or the letter from Shaul or Paul to the Romans. All right. This portion, this chapter 6 right here, this portion of the epistle of Paul to the quote unquote Romans. All right. First and foremost, we have to understand that Shaul, Paul is not talking to us. He's not talking to us in this epistle, right? He's not talking to this generation right now in this epistle. Keep that in mind. But if we find ourselves in similar situations as these Romans, then of course we can take the advice of this epistle. But just know that this epistle was not written to us, this generation. It was written to that generation that was scattered in Rome at the time. All right. And this is more of a circular. Everybody know what a circular, a tract, a pamphlet? This epistle right here to the Romans is more like a tract. It's more like a pamphlet that is supposed to be passed around. All right. This epistle was to be circulated to all the Israelite assemblies throughout Rome. And like we are today, a small assembly here in Wilmington, in Leland. There's small assemblies in Jacksonville. There's small assemblies in Norfolk, VA. There's small assemblies in Columbia, South Carolina. And just like Morey Samak did and still does from time to time, he holds assemblies at his house, at his home. This is the scene in this epistle. So Shaul is not writing specifically to one assembly like he did in the Corinthians or the Ephesians. He was specifically addressing those particular churches. But in this epistle, it's a general message to all of those small assemblies that are scattered out through Rome. All right? That's important to remember. And some gather together, like I said, at homes, like we did and do sometimes at Morey Samak's home, trying to return back to their true culture. They're trying to return back to their true culture. Most of them were born thinking that they were Romans. Just like most of us were born before we was taught the truth, we thought we were Americans or African Americans or whatever ethnic culture hyphen American. All right. We didn't know we were Israel. And so just like in Rome, this epistle is going around to all the little small assemblies like we're doing here in America. All right. It's nothing specific to a specific leadership in a specific church, like those letters to Corinth, those letters to Ephesus. This one is not like that. All right. This is more of a pamphlet, a circular going around to all the scattered Israelites in Rome. All right. That's important to remember. All right. So let's get into the reading and then I'll get to the close. We're at Romaim or Romans chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 12 through 18. 12 through 18. Sleek, I need another sip of water. All right. So we're Romaim or Romans chapter 6, and we're going to start at verse 12. It says, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal bodies, that ye should obey it in the lust thereof. Neither yield your members, and when it's talking about members, it's talking about your fingers, your toes, your eyes, your ears, all right? Neither yield your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto the Most High, as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto Yah. Verse 14, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law. We got that phrase again, the law. For ye are not under the law, but under grace. Interesting. Verse 15, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law? We're not under the law. That phrase again, the law in English. Most High forbid. Most High forbid we don't sin because we're quote unquote under grace. And we'll get in a little bit more than that next Shabbat, Most High willing. Verse 16, know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are, to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. Verse 17, but the Most High be thanked, Todah Rabah Abba, that ye were the servants of sin, but ye have obeyed from the heart that from that form of doctrine which was delivered you, being then made free from sin, ye became the servants of righteousness. I know there's a lot there. And like I said, Most High willing, next Shabbat, we're going to go into this. We're going to go deeply into this. All right. So Hamashiach told us that until Shamayim wa haaretz, until the heavens and the earth pass, not one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled, right? And now we're reading Shaul, Paul. Paul is telling these Romans that they are no longer under the law. They're no longer under, quote unquote, the law, but under grace. This is a culture clash in English. This is a culture clash. The way the Greco-Romans are reading this is not the way our culture reads it. Shaul is not preaching against Hamashiach. And you all know this. You all know that the law is not done away with. And what I'm saying is Torah is not done away with. In English, we say the law, but Torah is not done away with. We know there's laws, statutes, and commandments in Torah. And we know there are judgments and testimonies in Torah, right? So in English, culturally right here, when it's saying we are no longer under the law, that's culture clash. That's a language barrier, all right? You all know this, but the majority of the Most High's people don't. Hallelujah. Told our Rabbi Abba that he's woken us up out of the darkness. Most of our brothers and sisters, and I'm going to speak in America because that's what I know. I don't know about all these other countries, but I do know about America. Most of our brothers and sisters have grown up in a foreign culture, taught by a foreign teacher. And I say it like this. If I'm a science student, I'm not going to go to a math professor to be tutored. You understand what I'm saying? This, especially Brit Hadashah, was translated from Hebrew, Aramaic, to the Greek or Latin, then into English. There's 3 iterations right there of what is actually being said. And we've grown up on that English side, that 3rd iteration of what's actually being said. That's why we preach returning back to our culture, because this is the biggest trap. This is the biggest trap for the Most High's people. The way it was taught in the English and the way the English process information. This is one of the biggest traps for the Most High's people, especially Romans here, all right? This is, I consider, the craftiest of crafty counsel that we read about in Psalms 83. So to close, Mishpachah, Todah Rabbah for suffering through Yaiqab, Leviticus. I know it was long, tedious, but it was on purpose. I think, or at least I hope, so you can get a visual of what Shaul is talking about when he's telling these Romaim that they're no longer under the law. And like I said, Most High willing, next Shabbat, we're going to jump right into that. Baba Kashada, which means please. Well, in English, it means please. Meditate on this message today. Really think about it. Go back over and read it. Take the time, the tedious time, to read Yaiqab 4 through 7. 4 through 7. That's what we're gonna, I don't want to use the word dissect, but we're really gonna tear that apart, hopefully, next Shabbat. So really, really meditate on that and be ready to discuss next Shabbat. And really what Shaul is talking about to the Romans, they, the assembly scattered throughout Rome, are not under the law, but are now under grace. That's going to be the subject matter. And like I said, sadly, there are some of us, that know we're Yisrael who approach this very epistle from a Greco-Roman cultural mindset. Some of us that call ourselves Yisrael, sadly, are still approaching this epistle from a Greco-Roman cultural mindset. Their righteousness is not exceeding the righteousness of the Pharisees and scribes. And then lastly, we have to keep this in mind when we talk to our family members. We have to keep this in mind when we talk to our family members and our friends who are still fully immersed in this foreign culture, this Greco-Roman culture, thinking they are serving the Most High with their whole heart. Most of them believe that they're serving the Most High. And remember, we talked about serving is submitting yourself totally to the Most High. They believe they're serving the Most High, but from a Greco-Roman cultural perspective. That is a trap.
Okay. Okay.
That is one of the craftiest of crafty counsel that we suffer, that are scattered to the four corners of the earth. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Wow, man.
All right, Mishpachah. We're going to move right on into the 2-minute warning with Adon Kanakya. You got the floor, Adon.